Thanks very much, President John. I didn't think we'd get to this point, but I am very pleased to be following a Young Nationals motion and one of such a high calibre. But John Tanner, to Warren Truss, to senators, to members, to state parliamentarians, to my federal management committee colleagues, to my Young Nationals colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me an immense sense of pride that I present my annual report on behalf of the Young Nationals. What a year to be part of the Conservative political landscape. We saw in Queensland the most successful election of any political party, with the LNP's landslide state government win. This was followed soon after by the Queensland local government elections and more recently the Northern Territory, which is now in the best hands it has been for over a decade, with a strong team of CLP candidates regaining government under Terry Mills' leadership. With these successes across the nation, the federal Young Nationals have never been prouder. With fellow young LNP and former Queensland Young Nationals State President and former member of the Federal Young Nationals Executive, the Honourable Andrew Cripps MP, retaining the seat of Hinchinbrook and appointed the Minister for Natural Resources and Mines in the Newman government. Additionally, young LNP members also won the seats of Broadwater, Kawana and Linton. The Federal Young Nationals also had members running in the Queensland local government elections, with Federal Secretary Councillor Damien Tessman re-elected unopposed to the South Burnett Regional Council and myself elected to the Maranoa Regional Council. This is also in addition to young LNP members winning in Brisbane City and Sunshine Coast councils. The Country Liberal Party also fielded young CLP candidates, with current and former young CLP presidents Rebecca Healy and Rhianna Harker running in the Northern Territory general election. Our Western Australia Young Nationals colleagues are also preparing for their state election in March of 2013, and the Federal Young Nationals are very proud to see former Young Nationals President Martin Aldridge and current Western Australian Young Nationals President and current member of the Young Nationals Federal Executive Sam Harmer gaining pre-selection in the state election for the Agricultural Region and the South West Region respectively. These achievements, of course, are all off the back of the Young Nats wins in New South Wales. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a strong illustration of the health of the youth wing of the party, and all members of the Nationals and affiliated parties should be encouraged by the desire of the next generation of Young Nationals to seek out opportunities to represent the great people of regional Australia. From an organisational perspective, the Young Nationals Federal Executive have been busy with two significant projects for the calendar year, both equally influential in forging a future for the Young National movement. The first is the new design and relaunch of our Young National website, coming to a web browser in front of you today. I'll take this time to thank the one person that got this off the ground, and that's Erin Adams, and I'd like you to put your hands together for her. In addition to this, the adoption of our revised federal constitution, an achievement 20 years in the making, took place at our AGM yesterday, and I'd like to make special mention of Damien Tessman and James Howland, who headed up the review team, as well as the support from David Russell for his legal mind looking into our review of the Constitution. Another major event for the Young Nationals for this year was our inaugural Budget in Reply dinner. This event was a great success and something we would like to continue to grow over the coming years. Ladies and gentlemen, this is also a great time for me to plug the Young National raffle once again. Its aim is to fund what you just saw on the screen, which is our new website. And I'm pleased to say the money is coming in, but it's not enough. John Sharp would be pleased I made that comment. The draw is tomorrow after Senator Joyce's address at 10:50. If you have bought a ticket and you're not going to be here and your name's not on it, thank you for the donation. If your name is on it, you'll be called. But for those people that would like tickets tonight and you aren't going to be here, please see one of the Young Nationals and we'll endeavour to take that money from you. The Young Nationals continue to hold our regular meetings over the past year, concentrating on building a strong future for the federal division of the Young Nationals, while also sharing ideas across the nation and supporting our state colleagues and their activities. 2011-2012 saw the introduction of our patrons to the Young Nationals, and I would like to acknowledge now our federal patrons, Senator Bridget McKenzie, who is our Senate patron, and George Christensen, our House of Representatives patron, for taking on this fledgling idea of the Young Nationals and for the support that you have both played over the past 12 months. George will still be hobbling outside, so he will hear those claps. It now gives me great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to announce the Federal Young National patrons for the 2012-2013 year. And our Senate patron for this year is Senator Barnaby Joyce. And our House of Representatives patron is Michael McCormack. Now, I feel comfortable with the choices that we've made. Michael and I are mates on Facebook, so we keep up to date on what each other is doing. That's 2 followers. I don't know who that's for. But for Barnaby, who just lives down the road from me up in Queensland, we've got a little bit of a bond, and I just want to share a story with you today. You sort of shared it with me first. As I said, we had the Budget and Ply dinner earlier this year. It was an absolute success, and Barnaby attended, as did many other elected members. And so I flew down for that, and I had to get back early the next day to open the Roma show. So I got the 6 o'clock plane out of Canberra, and I shouted myself with points the front part of the plane. Now, many of you in the room will know the perks of the front part of the plane, but a mere councillor from the Maranoa area doesn't. And as I got comfortable in my window seat up the front, I see a familiar face get on the plane, and here's Natalie Joyce. She's seated beside me. I thought, oh, this will be a nice trip. It's going to be an interesting story. So for those that are familiar with the front part of the plane, they call you by your title. So we're up in the air, they come to serve breakfast, and Mr. O'Neill, what would you like? Mr. O'Neill, would you like an orange juice? And suddenly, Mrs. O'Neill. She was getting asked the same thing. I thought, this is absolutely fantastic. I said to Natalie, I'm telling Barnaby this. And so I went for the whole flight. And it wasn't until I was leaving the plane that they said, oh, goodbye, Mrs. Joyce. Goodbye, Mr. Joyce. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday the Young Nationals held their AGM, and we had 35 people, which is the biggest that I can remember in the 5 years that I've been coming to Canberra. So off the back of that and off the back of all the elected people that we've got, I think this is a true illustration of the future. We've also this year had members attend the APEC tour. We had Nathan Quigley attended the UK, and you can see his report in the annual report, page 66. And Erin Adams attended South Korea. I was lucky enough to be sent to New Zealand. I only arrived back in the country last Sunday, hence my report's not in this year's, it will be in next year's. But I just want to touch on a couple of things there. I travelled with 3 Labor Party delegates, as you do, and I also had the opportunity to travel with to Liberal Party, my federal counterpart in the Young Liberals, Trent Hassan, and the new Senator for WA, Senator Dean Smith. And it pays to make contact with where you're travelling. We had dinner with the Young Nationals from New Zealand on the Sunday night when we arrived in Wellington, and after a couple of wines and a very brief conversation, we put to them that if they could pull off a meeting with John Key. Well, at 3 p.m. the next afternoon, we had 15 minutes with the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and it was absolutely fantastic. And it just goes to show that the networks that you can make, both in our political party here, but across the world as well. I'd just also like to mention the support from Scott and Tori and the team for the breakfast this morning. 230 people, well, the 230 chairs, there were a few missing, but nonetheless, it was a fantastic event, and it's something that the Young Nationals would like to grow in the coming years. The last thing on the Young Nationals I'd like to mention is the New South Wales and their first conference in nearly 30 years in Wagga Wagga this year, which I had the great privilege of speaking at. And again, it's another illustration of the movement and the strength that we are forging ahead with across Australia. Also, I'd like to mention our Federal President, John Tanner, and the support that he's not only given me in the 12 months that I've been in the role of Federal Young President, but also the entire executive. And I think, John, I can speak for the previous presidents that have served with you in Damien Callahor, Martin Aldridge and Sarah Mitchell. And the support that you have shown us is a testament to who you are and the way that you see the future of this party going. So, ladies and gentlemen, could you give John Tanner a round of applause for the Young Nationals? Lastly, it's a true honour to hold the position of President of the Federal Young Nationals, but it is a team effort, and I would now like to introduce the executive members of the Federal Young National Executive for 2012-2013, and if you can all be upstanding, that is the Young Nats, not everyone. I'll start with our new Vice President, Ruby Cameron. Damien Tessman, Federal Secretary. James Howland, Federal Treasurer. Federal Policy Officer, Jeremy Scott. Federal Publicity Officer, James Wishart. Social Media Officer, Erin Adams. Federal Campaign Officer, Nathan Quigley. Well, he can't stand up for where he is, so we'll keep going. Felicity Walker. The New South Wales President. Ben Riley, Queensland President. Andrew Black from Victoria. Sam Harmer, Western Australia. And Jonathan Peach from South Australia. All stand up, guys, come on. Stand up. It is the support and hard work of the Federal Executive and State Presidents of the Federal Young Nationals that ensure a strong future for our great party, and collectively we welcome 2013 and the next federal election. I move my report.